Hi, I'm Catherine Hurst from Catherine Hurst Contemporary Crafts, and I'm going to teach you some knitting techniques today. I'm going to show you how to cast on. Casting on in knitting is the first thing you do. It will create the initial series of loops into which you're going to make your knit and purl stitches. We're going to start with the simple or loop cast on, also called the backwards loop. We want to begin by leaving about 4 to 6 inches or 10 centimeters of tail, and above that spot we're going to make a slip knot. If you hang the yarn over your fingers so that the tail is in the front and the active loop is in the back, you wrap that yarn around your fingers until you get to the back side. You then want to tuck a loop under from the knuckle side to the fingertip side. So you tuck a loop of yarn under that piece of yarn, you pick up that loop, take your fingers out and pull down on the tail. I'm going to do it again. So you're going to wrap that yarn around your fingers, tuck a loop under in this direction from the knuckle to the fingertip side, pick up that loop, fingers out, and pull down on the tail. That will make an adjustable knot so that you won't have a loose spot at the beginning of your knitting. Most cast-on methods start by using a slip knot. You're then going to put that loop onto the needle, just one needle, and tighten the loop up. You don't want it too tight, but you want a little bit of space showing between the knot and the needle. Okay, now for the simpler loop cast on, you're going to hold the needle in your left hand, and you're going to take your right index finger and scoop up that yarn. You then need to turn your finger so that it's facing the same direction, it's parallel to the needle, and slide that loop on to the needle and just tighten it up gently. Again, I'm going to scoop up that yarn, turn my finger, slide that loop on, so there's a little cross there, so it will stay on the needle properly. Pick up, turn, so there's a cross, slide on, and so forth. This is a very fast, easy cast-on method. You can get stitches onto the needle really quickly, but because this is only a single cross, it's not a particularly strong cast-on. So it works very well if you have a project that you just need to put a few stitches onto the needle and start. For example, a triangular shawl. You would start at the point with just maybe 3 stitches and grow as you went. So this is a great method for that. So just picking it up, turning, and sliding onto the needle. But for anything where you want to be a little stronger, you might try one of the other 2 cast-on methods. The first is the long tail cast on. So I'm just going to pull these off the needle and start again. So for the long tail cast on, as the name implies, you need a long tail. You need about 12 inches, about a foot or 30 centimeters of yarn for every 20 stitches you want to put on the needle with an average thickness of yarn. If you have a very thin yarn, like a lace weight yarn, you'll need a little bit less. If you have a very thick, chunky, or bulky yarn, you'll need a little bit more. But on average, about 30 centimeters for every 20 stitches. Above that point, you're then going to make your slip knot again. And place that on the needle. Tighten it up gently. This time, you're going to hold the needle in your right hand. So what you want to do is you're going to take these 3 fingers of your left hand, your little finger, ring finger, and middle finger, and you're going to grab both pieces of that yarn. You're then going to take your index finger and thumb, and you're going to put them between the 2 pieces of yarn and spread them out, parting it like a tiny curtain. I'm just going to do that again. So I grab with these 3, take my index finger and thumb, and put them between that yarn and spread it out. I then need to just pull my hand upright and the needle down so that I'm in a slingshot position. Okay. Once you're in position, you're then going to take your right needle and you're going to scoop up the yarn that's over your thumb from the outside in, so you're scooping in this direction, and then you're going to scoop up the yarn that's coming over your forefinger, again from the outside in. So I'll do that again. So you're going from the outside, scooping up that yarn, and from the outside, scooping up that yarn. There's a loop over your thumb. You need to bring the needle down through that loop and pull it towards you. Then take your thumb out of the loop and pull down on the tail to tighten. Let's do it again. We're going from the outside of the thumb loop, outside of the forefinger loop, bringing the needle through the loop over the thumb and scooping towards you, thumb out, and pull down on the tail. Again, outside, outside, through the loop, and pull down. Outside, outside, through the loop, and pull down. Last time. Outside, outside, through the loop, and pull down on the tail. And you cast on as many stitches as the pattern tells you to. Once you get the hang of this cast on method, it's very fast and easy. It's an extremely strong cast on and also has the added bonus of being flexible. So it's a little stretchier than the other cast on methods, which makes it a great choice for the bottom of a garment, the brim of a hat, the top of a sock, anywhere that you want to start with a piece of knitting that's stretchy and flexible. You'll cast on fairly loosely. You want the stitches to move easily on the needle. You always want to cast on loosely because your cast on edge, like your cast off edge, is always less flexible than the rest of your knitting. So you don't want your work to pull in at the bottom. You want it to be lovely and flexible like the rest of your knitting. And that is the long tail cast on. The last cast on I'm going to show you is called the knitted cast on. This is probably the most common cast on that people use, and it's also very strong and works well for anything that you want to have a strong, rigid edge. So again, we're going to start with our 4 to 6 inches or 10 centimeters of tail. We're going to make our slip knot, pull that knot through, and place that on the left-hand needle. Okay, you're going to hold that needle in your left hand, and for this one we need 2 needles. So we're going to begin by inserting the needle like we do to knit. So we're inserting from the left, and the right needle is under the left needle. We're going to wrap the yarn and pull that new loop through. Now we're at the point where we would normally let this loop come off the left-hand needle. Instead, we're going to put the new loop on to the left-hand needle. Do that again. So I take my newly formed stitch, insert from the left, wrap the yarn, pull the new loop back through, and place it on to the left-hand needle. Insert, wrap, pull the new loop through, and put it on. And again, you'll repeat this process until you have as many stitches as you need to cast on. And once again, you want to do this fairly loosely so that the stitches move evenly or move easily on the needle. Because remember, you have to knit into these stitches when you're finished casting on. Okay, that last one is the knitted cast on, and this one is less stretchy and flexible than the long tail cast on. This one's perfect for things like blanket squares, bags, the bottom of a scarf, anything you want to have a strong, rigid edge without stretching. And those are the various methods for casting on in knitting, and you can choose to use whichever one works best for your project.